The crone threat emerges. When humans get angry, the universe trembles. The crone raiding fleet charged their weapons and pointed them towards Earth, unaware that their presence had been detected long before their arrival. Below, on the planet's surface, humanity prepared for the oncoming storm. Captain Bruce Parker of the United Earth Fleet stood in the command center of the UEF battleship, resolute. His face was set with grim determination as he observed the crone fleet approaching through the holographic display. "We've got company," he muttered, his voice carrying the weight of responsibility. "How many ships?" asked Lieutenant Elena Vasquez, his second in command. "Too many," Bruce replied, "but it doesn't matter. We'll hold the line. We always do." The crone fleet, a menacing assembly of dark, insectoid ships, closed in on Earth's orbit. Their intention was clear: to raid and pillage, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. Bruce knew that humanity's survival hinged on their ability to respond swiftly and decisively. "Initiate defensive protocols," Bruce ordered. "Deploy the orbital defense platforms and scramble all available fighter squadrons." As the Resolute's crew sprang into action, the atmosphere in the command center was electric with urgency. The orbital defense platforms, massive automated turrets stationed around the planet, came online and began tracking the incoming crone vessels. "Captain, we've detected a transmission from the crone flagship," said Communications Officer Petrov. "They're demanding our immediate surrender." Bruce's eyes narrowed. "Put them on the main screen." The holographic display shifted to show the crone commander, a towering figure with multifaceted eyes and sharp, chitinous armor. "Humans," the crone hissed, "surrender now, and we may spare some of you. Resist, and you will be annihilated." Bruce stepped forward, his gaze unwavering. "This is Captain Bruce Parker of the United Earth Fleet. We do not surrender. If you come for us, you will find only your doom." The crone commander's eyes glinted with malice. "So be it," he spat before the transmission was cut. "All hands, prepare for battle," Bruce announced. "This is it, people. The crone think they can waltz into our home and take what they want. Let's show them the error of their ways." The crone fleet surged forward, weapons blazing. Earth's orbital defenses responded in kind, lighting up the space around the planet with torrents of energy beams and missile trails. The sky was a theater of war, a dazzling yet deadly dance of destruction. Fighter squadrons launched from the Resolute and other U.S. ships, engaging the crone in dogfights that played out against the backdrop of Earth's blue and green expanse. Bruce watched the tactical display, his heart pounding as he tracked the movements of both friend and foe. "Captain, we've got a breach on Deck 5, shouted a voice over the intercom. Bruce clenched his fists. "Send a security team to deal with it. We can't let them gain a foothold on this ship." Lieutenant Vasquez moved to his side. "Sir, the crone are focusing their fire on the Resolute. They know if they take us out, it'll cripple our defense." "Then we'll have to outblast them," Bruce replied. "Keep those shields up and return fire with everything we've got." The battle raged on, with neither side willing to give an inch. The crone pressed their attack, determined to break through the human defenses, but Earth's defenders held firm. Bruce could feel the strain on his crew, their resolve tested to its limits. Suddenly, an alert flashed on the tactical display. "Captain, multiple crone ships are breaking off from the main fleet," reported Petrov. "They're heading towards the surface." Bruce's heart skipped a beat. "They're going after the colonies," he realized. "Lieutenant Vasquez, get me a line to ground command. We need to warn them." As Vasquez worked to establish the connection, Bruce's mind raced. The colonies were Earth's lifeline, providing resources and shelter for millions. If the crone managed to attack them directly, the consequences would be catastrophic. "Ground command, this is Captain Parker," he said urgently as the connection was made. "The crone are sending ships to the surface. You need to prepare for an immediate assault." "Roger that, Captain," came the reply. "We'll mobilize all available forces." Bruce ended the transmission and turned back to the tactical display. "We need to take the pressure off our ground forces," he said. "Focus fire on those ships heading towards the planet. We can't let them reach the surface." The Resolute and its allies intensified their efforts, targeting the Crone vessels attempting to break through. Missiles and energy beams streaked through space, tearing into the enemy ships with relentless precision. Explosions blossomed in the void, brief yet brilliant bursts of light marking the destruction of Crone vessels. But for every ship they destroyed, more seemed to take its place. The Crone were relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. Bruce knew that they couldn't keep this up forever. They needed a new strategy, something to turn the tide in their favor. "Captain, I have an idea," said Vasquez, her eyes alight with determination. "What if we use the orbital defense platforms to create a crossfire? Force the Crone into a kill zone where we can concentrate our firepower." Bruce considered her proposal. It was risky, but it might just work. "Do it," he decided. "Coordinate with the other ships and the defense platforms. Let's turn this battlefield to our advantage." Under Vasquez's direction, the UEF forces began to reposition themselves, creating a gauntlet of overlapping firepower. The Crone, sensing an opportunity, pressed forward, unaware that they were being lured into a trap. "Now," Bruce commanded. The orbital defense platforms and UEF ships unleashed a withering barrage, their combined firepower converging on the Crone fleet. The space around Earth became a maelstrom of destruction, the concentrated assault overwhelming the Crone ships caught in the crossfire. "Captain, it's working," Vasquez exclaimed. "We're breaking their formation." Bruce allowed himself a grim smile. "Keep it up. We're not done yet." The Crone fleet, battered and broken, began to fall back, their assault faltering in the face of the relentless human defense. The tide had turned, but Bruce knew the battle was far from over. The Crone were retreating, but they would regroup and return with even greater force. "All units, maintain defensive posture," Bruce ordered. "We've won this round, but the war is just beginning." As the last of the Crone ships disappeared into the depths of space, Bruce stood tall, his resolve unshaken. The universe had trembled, but humanity had stood tall. The Crone had underestimated them, and they would pay for their arrogance. "Lieutenant Vasquez, prepare a report for High Command," he said. "And get me a secure line. I need to speak with the Council." As Vasquez moved to carry out his orders, Bruce turned to the viewport, gazing out at the stars. The Crone threat was far from over, but he knew that as long as humanity stood united, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The universe had learned a valuable lesson that day. When humans get angry, they do not go quietly into the night. They fight with every ounce of their strength, and they do not rest until the enemy is vanquished. The Crone had made a grave mistake in underestimating them, and Bruce was determined to ensure they never forgot it. Humanity's counterstrike. As Captain Bruce Parker sent his report to High Command, the United Earth Fleet's ships began their repair and resupply operations. The battle had taken a toll, and they needed to be ready for the inevitable Crone return. But Bruce knew they couldn't just wait for the next attack. They needed to take the fight to the enemy. The secure line to the Earth Council finally connected, and the faces of the Council members appeared on the screen. Council leader Maria Chen's stern expression softened slightly when she saw Bruce. "Captain Parker," she began, "we received your report. The Council commends your efforts in defending Earth, but we must discuss our next steps." Bruce nodded. "The Crone won't stop until they've taken everything from us. We need to strike back, show them that humanity won't be bullied." Council member David Singh leaned forward. "What do you propose, Captain?" "We need to hit their supply lines, disrupt their operations, and cripple their ability to wage war," Bruce replied. "We've got intelligence on several key Crone installations. If we can take those out, it'll buy us time and weaken their war effort." Council leader Chen exchanged glances with the other members. "It's a bold plan, Captain. High risk, but potentially high reward. Do you have the resources you need for such an operation? Bruce glanced at Vasquez, who gave him a nod of encouragement. We have the ships and the crews. What we need is authorization and support from the Council. Chen took a deep breath. You have it, Captain. We'll allocate additional resources and coordinate with other allied fleets. Strike hard and make sure the Crone know that humanity will not be cowed. With the Council's backing, Bruce set to work. The UEF fleet prepared for their counteroffensive, with ships undergoing rapid repairs and resupplies. Intelligence officers worked around the clock to pinpoint the most critical Crone targets. 2 days later, the fleet was ready. Bruce stood on the bridge of the Resolute, addressing his crew. Today, we take the fight to the enemy. We're going to hit them where it hurts and show them that humanity is not to be trifled with. Remember, we're fighting not just for Earth, but for all the colonies and outposts that depend on us. Let's make them proud. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, their destination a Crone supply depot deep in enemy territory. The element of surprise was crucial. The Crone wouldn't expect such a bold move so soon after their failed assault on Earth. As the UEF ships emerged from hyperspace, they found the depot lightly guarded. The Crone had indeed underestimated humanity's resolve. Bruce wasted no time. All units engage the enemy, he ordered. Fighters launched from the carriers, swarming the Crone defenses while the larger ships targeted key installations. Explosions rocked the depot as the UEF fleet unleashed their fury. The Crone defenders, caught off guard, scrambled to mount a defense, but it was too late. The humans' assault was swift and devastating. Captain, we've got incoming reinforcements, warned Vasquez, pointing to the tactical display. A Crone battle group is heading our way. Bruce's eyes narrowed. We expected this. All ships maintain defensive formation and prepare for a second wave. The Crone reinforcements arrived in a flurry of activity, their larger warships bearing down on the UEF fleet. The space around the depot became a chaotic battlefield, with energy beams and missiles crisscrossing in a deadly dance. The Resolute's shields flared as they absorbed enemy fire, and Bruce could feel the strain on his crew. But they held firm, returning fire with precision and determination. Target their command ship, Bruce ordered. If we can take it out, it'll throw them into disarray. The Resolute's main cannons fired, their powerful beams slicing through the void and striking the Crone command ship. The enemy vessel shuddered under the impact, its shields flickering before collapsing. A volley of torpedoes followed, tearing through the ship's hull and causing it to erupt in a fiery explosion. Command ship destroyed, Captain, Vasquez reported with a satisfied smile. Bruce allowed himself a brief moment of relief. Good. Now let's finish this. The destruction of their command ship threw the Crone reinforcements into confusion, and the UEF fleet pressed their advantage. One by one, the Crone ships were disabled or destroyed, their once formidable force reduced to scattered wreckage. With the enemy in full retreat, Bruce gave the order to withdraw. We've done enough damage here. Let's regroup and prepare for the next target. As the fleet made their way back to friendly space, Bruce took a moment to reflect. They had struck a significant blow against the Crone, but the war was far from over. Humanity had shown their strength, but they would need to maintain their resolve in the battles to come. Back at the UEF command center, the mood was one of cautious optimism. The successful raid had boosted morale and demonstrated that humanity could take the fight to the enemy. But Bruce knew that they couldn't afford to rest on their laurels. He gathered his senior officers for a debriefing. We've dealt the Crone a serious blow, but they will adapt. We need to stay one step ahead, continue to disrupt their operations, and prepare for their inevitable retaliation. Lieutenant Vasquez nodded. Our intelligence suggests that the Crone are mobilizing more fleets. They won't let this go unanswered. Bruce nodded. Then we need to be ready. We'll continue to hit their supply lines, but we also need to fortify our defenses. The Crone will come back stronger, and we need to be prepared. As the officers discussed their next moves, Bruce felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fight against the Crone would be long and difficult, but humanity had proven that they would not be easily defeated. They had stood up to the invaders and shown their resilience and determination. The battle for Earth had been just the beginning. The war would continue, but Bruce knew that as long as they stood united, they could face any challenge that came their way. The Crone had awakened a sleeping giant, and humanity would not rest until they had secured their place in the galaxy. The alliance strengthens. Captain Bruce Parker leaned over the tactical display, studying the latest intelligence reports. The Crone were indeed mobilizing more fleets, and their movements indicated a potential counterstrike. But Bruce wasn't about to let them gain the upper hand. He needed allies, and he knew just where to find them. Lieutenant Vasquez sent a secure transmission to the Terran Republic and the Martian Confederacy. "We need to convene a summit of Allied forces," Bruce ordered. Vasquez nodded and quickly got to work. Within hours, the leaders of humanity's allies were on their way to Earth. The summit would be a turning point in their struggle against the Crone. As the representatives gathered in the UEF Command Center, Bruce addressed them with urgency. "The Crone are regrouping for a massive counterattack. We've shown that we can hit them hard, but we can't fight them alone. We need to coordinate our efforts and present a united front." General Thorne of the Terran Republic spoke first. "Our forces are ready to support the UEF. We've seen what the Crone can do, and we won't let them threaten humanity." Ambassador Huxley from the Martian Confederacy nodded in agreement. "Mars stands with Earth. We've mobilized our fleets and are prepared to strike alongside you." Bruce felt a surge of relief and determination. "Thank you. Together, we can turn the tide of this war. We need to disrupt their supply lines further and target their key installations. If we can weaken their infrastructure, we'll force them to spread their forces thin." The summit continued late into the night as the leaders discussed strategies and coordinated their forces. By the time they adjourned, a comprehensive plan was in place. The Allied fleets would launch simultaneous strikes on multiple Crone supply depots and shipyards, creating chaos and confusion among the enemy ranks. The next day, Bruce stood on the bridge of the Resolute, ready to lead the charge. The Allied fleets had gathered, a formidable armada of ships from Earth, Mars, and the Terran Republic. It was a sight that filled Bruce with pride and hope. "All units, prepare for hyperspace jump," Bruce ordered. "We're taking the fight to the Crone once again. Let's show them the strength of our alliance." The fleet jumped into hyperspace, emerging near a heavily fortified Crone shipyard. The element of surprise was on their side, and the battle began with a fierce intensity. Fighters launched, weaving through the void as they engaged enemy defenses. Larger ships targeted key structures, unleashing devastating firepower. "Focus on their production facilities," Bruce commanded. "We need to cripple their ability to build and repair ships." Explosions rocked the shipyard as Allied forces hammered the Crone infrastructure. The enemy responded with a ferocity born of desperation, but the combined might of the human and Allied fleets was overwhelming. "Captain, we've got reinforcements inbound," Vasquez reported. "Multiple Crone warships on an intercept course." Bruce's eyes narrowed. "All units, maintain formation. Prepare to engage the incoming fleet." The Crone reinforcements arrived, and the battle intensified. Space became a maelstrom of energy beams and missiles, ships maneuvering in a deadly dance. The Allied forces fought with determination, their coordination and unity giving them an edge. The Resolute's cannons fired in unison, striking a Crone cruiser and sending it spiraling out of control. Bruce directed his ship towards the heart of the enemy formation, targeting their command vessels. "Captain, we've got a clear shot at their flagship," Vasquez called out. Bruce seized the opportunity. "All batteries, fire at will." The Resolute's weapons blazed, unleashing a torrent of firepower that struck the Crone flagship. The enemy ship's shields buckled under the assault, and a series of explosions rippled through its hull. The flagship was crippled, its systems failing as it drifted aimlessly. With their flagship disabled, the Crone forces faltered. The Allied fleets pressed their advantage, systematically dismantling the remaining enemy ships. One by one, the Crone vessels were destroyed or forced to retreat. As the battle drew to a close, Bruce surveyed the wreckage. They had achieved a significant victory, but he knew the war was far from over. The Crone would regroup and return, but humanity and its allies had shown their strength and resilience. Back on Earth, the mood was one of celebration and cautious optimism. The successful raid had further bolstered morale, and the alliance was stronger than ever. But Bruce knew they couldn't afford to become complacent. He gathered his officers for a debriefing. "We've struck a major blow against the Crone, but we need to stay vigilant. They will come back stronger, and we need to be prepared for whatever they throw at us." Lieutenant Vasquez nodded. "Our intelligence suggests they're consolidating their forces for a major offensive. We need to fortify our defenses and continue to disrupt their operations." Bruce agreed. "We'll keep hitting their supply lines and key installations. We need to keep them on the defensive and prevent them from gaining any momentum." As the officers discussed their next moves, Bruce felt a renewed sense of determination. The fight against the Crone would be long and difficult, but humanity and its allies had proven that they would not be easily defeated. They had stood up to the invaders and shown their resolve. The war would continue, but Bruce knew that as long as they remained united, they could face any challenge. The Crone had awakened a powerful alliance, and humanity would not rest until they had secured peace and safety for all. Unseen threats. Captain Bruce Parker stood in his quarters, staring out at the stars. The recent victory had been crucial, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the Crone were planning something even more dangerous. He knew they were cunning and relentless, and he needed to stay one step ahead. A chime from his console broke his reverie. It was a secure message from Admiral Carla Zheng, head of UEF intelligence. Bruce opened the transmission, her serious expression filling the screen. "Captain Parker, we've intercepted some troubling communications," Admiral Zheng said without preamble. "The Crone are working on a new type of weapon. Our sources suggest it's capable of devastating entire planets." Bruce's heart sank. "Do we have any specifics?" "Not yet," Zheng replied, "but we're working on it. I need you to be prepared for anything. This weapon could change the course of the war." Bruce nodded. "Understood. I'll inform my team and start strategizing immediately." The transmission ended, and Bruce immediately summoned his senior officers. As they gathered in the briefing room, he relayed the Admiral's message. "We need to find out everything we can about this new weapon," Bruce said. "Lieutenant Vasquez, get our best analysts on it. Commander Miller, coordinate with our allies. We need to be ready to act as soon as we have more information." The officers dispersed to their tasks, and Bruce felt the weight of the responsibility pressing down on him. If the Crone succeeded in deploying such a weapon, it could spell disaster for humanity and its allies. Days turned into weeks as the UEF intelligence teams worked around the clock. Finally, a breakthrough came. Lieutenant Vasquez burst into Bruce's quarters with a datapad in hand. "Captain, we've got something," she said breathlessly. "Our analysts decrypted a key piece of Crone communications. They called it Project Darkstar. It's a planet killer, capable of harnessing massive amounts of energy to obliterate a planet's surface." Bruce took the datapad, scanning the information. "Do we know where they're developing this weapon?" "Yes," Vasquez replied. "It's in a heavily fortified installation on the planet Zenthara. It's deep in Crone territory, but we believe we can get a strike team in there." Bruce's mind raced. "Assemble the best team we've got. We're going to need a mix of our finest soldiers, engineers, and intelligence operatives. This has to be a precision operation." Within hours, the team was ready. Bruce himself would lead the mission, along with Lieutenant Vasquez, Commander Miller, and a hand-picked squad of elite UEF operatives. They boarded a stealth ship, the Shadowhawk, designed for deep infiltration missions. As they approached Zenthara, Bruce briefed the team. "This mission is critical. We get in, gather intel on Project Darkstar, and sabotage it if possible. Stay sharp and follow the plan. We can't afford any mistakes. The Shadowhawk slipped past Crone defenses, landing in a remote area outside the installation. The team moved swiftly, using the cover of darkness to approach their target. They encountered minimal resistance at first, but as they penetrated deeper, the security increased. Commander Miller hacked into the facility's network, disabling alarms and rerouting patrols. They reached the central lab where Project Darkstar was being developed. The sight that greeted them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. A massive reactor, pulsating with energy, surrounded by Crone scientists and heavily armed guards. Bruce signaled for silence as they moved into position. They needed to gather as much data as possible before planting explosives to destroy the reactor. Vasquez and Miller worked quickly, downloading schematics and scientific data. Just as they were about to set the charges, an alarm blared. "We've been detected," Miller shouted. "They're locking down the facility." "Abort the sabotage," Bruce ordered. "We need to get this data out of here. Move." The team fought their way back through the facility, engaging Crone soldiers in fierce firefights. Bruce led the charge, his pulse rifle blazing as they made their escape. They reached the Shadowhawk just as enemy reinforcements closed in. "Get us out of here," Bruce shouted as they boarded the ship. The pilot, Lieutenant Collins, launched the Shadowhawk into the sky, evading enemy fire as they ascended into space. The mission had been partially successful. They had the data, but the reactor was still intact. Back on the Resolute, Bruce and his team analyzed the data they had recovered. It was clear that the Crone were close to completing Project Darkstar, but the information they had gathered could help them devise a plan to counter it. Admiral Zhang contacted Bruce as soon as she received the data. "Excellent work, Captain. This gives us a fighting chance. We need to develop a countermeasure and prepare for an assault on Zenthara. We cannot let Project Darkstar be completed." Bruce agreed. "We'll work around the clock to find a way to neutralize it. In the meantime, we need to bolster our defenses and warn our allies." The days that followed were a blur of activity as scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to develop a countermeasure. Finally, a breakthrough came, a specialized EMP device that could disrupt the reactor's energy flow, rendering Project Darkstar inoperable. With the countermeasure ready, Bruce gathered his team once more. "We're going back to Zenthara. This time, we're taking it down for good." The Allied fleets prepared for a massive assault on Zenthara, knowing that the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance. The stakes had never been higher, but Bruce and his team were ready. They would stop at nothing to ensure the safety of humanity and its allies. As the fleet jumped to hyperspace, Bruce felt a sense of resolve. The Crone had underestimated the strength and determination of humanity before, and they would pay the price for their arrogance. The final battle for Zenthara was about to begin. The battle for Zenthara. The Allied fleets emerged from hyperspace near Zenthara, an ominous planet enveloped in darkness, its surface dotted with Crone fortresses and the unmistakable silhouette of the installation housing Project Darkstar. The sight was both intimidating and awe-inspiring, but Captain Bruce Parker's resolve was unshaken. Bruce stood on the bridge of the Resolute, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Allied forces were a mix of UEF ships and vessels from various alien races that had joined the fight against the Crone. It was a testament to the unity and cooperation that had been forged in the face of a common enemy. "All units, prepare for engagement," Bruce ordered, his voice steady. "Our primary objective is the installation. We need to get the EMP device in place and take down Project Darkstar." The fleet advanced, with smaller, agile ships leading the charge, providing cover for the larger capital ships. The Crone defenses reacted swiftly, launching a barrage of laser fire and deploying fighter squadrons to intercept the attackers. "Shields up, all weapons hot," Bruce commanded. "Let's show them what we're made of." The Resolute shuddered as it absorbed enemy fire, its turrets returning fire with precision. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as ships from both sides were hit. Bruce could see the Crone installation growing larger on the main view screen, the reactor's ominous glow visible even from space. "Lieutenant Collins, take us in closer," Bruce said. "We need to get within range for the EMP deployment." The Resolute maneuvered through the chaotic battlefield, dodging enemy fire and returning volleys with lethal accuracy. On the ground, the strike team prepared for their part of the mission. Bruce would lead them once again, along with Lieutenant Vasquez, Commander Miller, and their elite squad. "All ground units, prepare for insertion," Bruce announced. "We're going in hot." As the Resolute closed in on the installation, the strike team boarded drop pods, their hardened exteriors designed to withstand the intense heat of atmospheric entry and enemy fire. The pods launched from the Resolute, streaking toward the surface like meteors. The descent was turbulent, but the pod's advanced shielding held. They landed with a series of heavy impacts, and the strike team quickly exited, weapons at the ready. The installation loomed before them, heavily guarded and fortified. "Move out," Bruce ordered. "We need to reach the reactor and deploy the EMP." The team advanced through the hostile terrain, engaging Crone soldiers in fierce firefights. Bruce led the charge, his pulse rifle blazing as they pushed forward. The Crone fought desperately to protect their weapon, but the human and allied soldiers were relentless. Finally, they reached the entrance to the central lab. Miller hacked the security systems, and the team stormed inside, catching the Crone scientists and guards off guard. The massive reactor pulsed ominously, its energy levels fluctuating as it neared completion. "Vasquez, set the EMP device," Bruce commanded. "We don't have much time." Vasquez moved quickly, placing the device at the reactor's core. The rest of the team provided cover, fending off waves of Crone soldiers trying to stop them. The EMP device hummed to life, its energy building to a critical level. "Device is set," Vasquez shouted. "We need to get clear." The team began their retreat, fighting their way back through the facility. The EMP device detonated with a blinding flash, and the reactor's glow flickered and died. The energy buildup halted, and the threat of Project Darkstar was neutralized. "Mission accomplished," Bruce said, his voice filled with relief. "Let's get out of here." The strike team made their way back to the extraction point, where the Shadowhawk awaited. They boarded the ship and launched into the sky, evading enemy fire as they ascended into space. The Allied fleet had successfully held off the Crone forces, and the installation was now in ruins. Back on the Resolute, the crew erupted in cheers as the news spread. Admiral Zheng appeared on the main view screen, her expression one of pride and gratitude. "Well done, Captain Parker," she said. "You and your team have saved countless lives today. The Crone will think twice before underestimating us again." Bruce nodded. "It was a team effort, Admiral. We couldn't have done it without everyone's dedication and bravery." As the fleet regrouped and began the journey back to Allied territory, Bruce allowed himself a moment of reflection. The battle had been hard fought, and many had sacrificed much, but humanity had once again proven its resilience and ingenuity. The future was uncertain, but with allies by their side and the spirit of cooperation and determination guiding them, Bruce knew they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The fight against the Crone was far from over, but humanity had sent a clear message. They would never back down, and they would protect their worlds and their way of life with unwavering resolve. The aftermath and the unexpected ally. The journey back to Allied territory was filled with a mix of relief and contemplation. The destruction of Project Darkstar marked a significant victory, but the losses endured weighed heavily on everyone. Captain Bruce Parker stood on the bridge of the Resolute, gazing out at the stars. The battle had left scars, both on the ships and on the people. "Captain, incoming transmission from the UEF command," Lieutenant Collins reported. "Patch it through," Bruce replied. Admiral Zheng's image appeared on the main view screen, her expression serious yet with a hint of a smile. "Captain Parker, I want to personally commend you and your team for your bravery and skill," Admiral Zheng said. "The destruction of Project Darkstar is a major blow to the Crone war effort. However, we must remain vigilant. The Crone will likely retaliate." "We'll understand, Admiral," Bruce said. "We'll be ready for whatever comes next." The transmission ended, and Bruce turned to his crew. "Everyone, take this time to rest and regroup. We need to be at our best for the challenges ahead." The crew nodded, and Bruce headed to his quarters. As he sat at his desk, his mind wandered to the people they'd lost and the battles still to come. A soft knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he said. Lieutenant Vasquez entered, her expression thoughtful. "Captain, I just wanted to say, you did an incredible job out there." "We all did." Bruce smiled. "Thank you, Vasquez. It was a team effort. I'm proud of every one of you." Vasquez nodded. "We'll be ready for the next fight, Captain, no matter what." With a final nod, she left, and Bruce leaned back in his chair. He couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was on the horizon. A few days later, as the fleet neared Allied space, a series of unidentified signals appeared on the sensors. "Captain, we've got multiple unidentified ships approaching," Collins reported. "They're not Crone." "Put them on screen," Bruce ordered. The view screen displayed a formation of sleek, unfamiliar ships. A moment later, a transmission came through. "This is Captain Elleris of the Zalkari Federation," a calm voice said. "We seek to speak with Captain Bruce Parker of the United Earth Federation." Bruce exchanged a surprised glance with Collins. The Zalkari Federation was a reclusive race, rarely involving themselves in interstellar conflicts. "This is Captain Bruce Parker," he replied. "What can we do for you, Captain Elleris?" "We have been monitoring the situation with the Crone," Elleris said. "We believe it is time for the Zalkari to join the fight. We offer our assistance and resources in your struggle against the Crone." Bruce's eyes widened. "We welcome any help you can provide, Captain Elleris. Your timing is impeccable." Elleris nodded. "We have seen your bravery and determination. It is inspiring. Together, we can turn the tide against the Crone." As the Zalkari ships integrated with the fleet, Bruce felt a renewed sense of hope. The addition of the Zalkari's advanced technology and knowledge could prove to be the edge they needed. The fleet docked at a secure station within Allied space, and Bruce convened a meeting with Admiral Zheng and Captain Elleris. The room was filled with holographic displays and tactical maps. "Captain Elleris, your willingness to join us is greatly appreciated," Admiral Zheng said. "What can you tell us about the Crone and their plans?" Elleris activated a holographic map, showing a detailed layout of Crone territories and installations. "The Crone have several key outposts and strongholds. Our intelligence suggests they are regrouping for a major offensive. If we can strike their command center, we can disrupt their plans and buy ourselves crucial time." Bruce studied the map. "Their command center is heavily fortified. We'll need a coordinated assault to penetrate their defenses." Elleris nodded. "The Zalkari has specialized ships designed for precision strikes. We can create a breach, allowing your forces to target critical infrastructure." Admiral Zheng looked thoughtful. "It will be a risky operation, but if we succeed, it could change the course of the war." The plan was set into motion. The combined UEF and Zalkari fleets prepared for the assault, each unit assigned specific targets and objectives. The tension was palpable as the fleet once again ventured into enemy territory. As they approached the Crone command center, the fleet split into strike teams. Bruce led the main assault, with Elleris coordinating the Zalkari's precision strikes. The Crone defenses were formidable, but the combined might of the Allied forces pressed forward. The battle raged on, ships weaving through laser fire and explosions. Bruce's focus was unwavering, his commands precise. The Zalkari's advanced technology proved invaluable, their ships creating openings in the Crone defenses. "Captain Parker, "We've breached the outer defenses," Elleris reported. "Proceed to the command center." "Understood," Bruce replied. "All units, push forward. We need to take out their command structure." The Resolute led the charge, targeting key installations and enemy ships. The combined firepower of the Ally fleet overwhelmed the Crowan defenses. As they neared the command center, Bruce knew they were on the brink of a decisive victory. "Target the main control hub," Bruce ordered. "Take it down." The fleet concentrated their fire on the control hub, and with a series of explosions, the structure collapsed. The Crowan command center was in ruins, their coordination shattered. "Command center neutralized," Collins reported. "We've done it, Captain." Cheers erupted across the fleet, and Bruce allowed himself a moment of relief. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. Admiral Zheng's image appeared on the main view screen. "Excellent work, everyone. This victory will send a strong message to the Crowan. With the Zalkari's help, we have a real chance at turning the tide." Bruce nodded. "We've shown the Crowan that we won't back down. We'll keep fighting together." As the fleet regrouped and began their journey back to Allied space, Bruce looked out at the stars. The addition of the Zalkari had changed the game, and with their new ally, humanity and its allies stood stronger than ever. The future remained uncertain, but with unity and determination, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. A new dawn. The return to Allied space was a journey filled with both triumph and reflection. The combined fleets of the UEF and the Zalkari had struck a significant blow against the Crowan, but everyone knew the war was far from over. Captain Bruce Parker stood on the bridge of the Resolute, watching as the stars blurred by. His mind was already strategizing the next steps, but for now, there was a momentary peace. "Captain, incoming transmission from Admiral Zheng," Lieutenant Collins announced. "Put it through," Bruce replied, turning to face the view screen. Admiral Zheng's face appeared, her expression a mix of pride and determination. "Captain Parker, congratulations on a successful mission. The destruction of the Crowan Command Center is a major victory. We're already seeing signs of disarray among their forces." "Thank you, Admiral," Bruce said. "The Zalkari played a crucial role. Their precision strikes were invaluable." "Indeed," Zheng agreed. "We'll need to strengthen our alliance with them. Captain Elleris has proven to be a formidable ally." As if on cue, Captain Elleris appeared on the secondary screen. "Captain Parker, Admiral Zheng, it's an honor to fight alongside such dedicated and brave warriors. The Zalkari Federation stands with you in this struggle. We're grateful for your support, Captain Elleris," Zheng said. "Together, we can achieve much more." The conversation turned to future plans, with the three leaders discussing strategies to maintain the momentum they had gained. The War Council meetings became a regular occurrence, with representatives from various allied races joining the discussions. The coalition against the Crowan was growing stronger. One evening, as the Resolute orbited a secure space station, Bruce took a rare moment to visit the crew's recreation area. He found Lieutenant Vasquez and a group of officers engaged in a friendly game of cards. They looked up, surprised but pleased to see their captain. "Mind if I join?" Bruce asked with a smile. "Of course, Captain," Vasquez said, shuffling the deck to deal him in. The game was a welcome distraction, filled with laughter and camaraderie. Bruce felt the weight of command lighten, if only for a short while. The bond among the crew was evident, and he knew that their unity was their greatest strength. As the game ended and the officers dispersed, Bruce found himself deep in thought. The war had taken its toll on everyone, but it had also brought them closer together. He was determined to lead them to victory and to ensure that the sacrifices they had made were not in vain. The next day, Bruce and his senior officers gathered in the war room for another strategy session. The holographic map displayed the latest intelligence reports, showing both the successes and the challenges that lay ahead. "We've disrupted the Crowan's command structure, but they're regrouping," Collins reported. "Their fleet movements suggest they're planning a counter-offensive. We need to stay ahead of them," Bruce said, "Our next target should be their supply lines. Cut off their resources, and we weaken their ability to fight." Elleris nodded. "The Zalkari can assist with precision strikes. We have the technology to disable their supply ships without causing unnecessary loss of life." "Agreed," Bruce said. "We'll coordinate our efforts and hit them hard. Let's make sure every strike counts." The plans were set into motion, and the combined fleet moved swiftly and decisively. The coordinated attacks on the Crone supply lines caused significant disruptions, forcing the enemy to spread their forces thin in an attempt to protect their resources. The Allied forces took advantage of this, launching targeted strikes on key installations and outposts. As the weeks turned into months, the tide of the war began to shift. The Crone, once an unstoppable force, found themselves on the defensive. The resolve and ingenuity of the human-led coalition proved to be a formidable match for their might. One day, as the Resolute patrolled a recently liberated sector, Bruce received a message from Admiral Zheng. "Captain Parker, I have news. The Crone High Command has requested a ceasefire. They're seeking negotiations." Bruce felt a surge of cautious optimism. "Do we trust them, Admiral?" "We'll proceed with caution," Zheng replied. "But this could be the opportunity we've been fighting for. We'll convene a summit with our allies and the Crone representatives." The summit was held in a neutral star system, aboard a massive space station. Delegates from the UEF, the Zalkari, and other allied races gathered to discuss terms with the Crone. Bruce, as a key figure in the coalition's military efforts, was a central participant. The negotiations were tense, with both sides wary but willing to seek a resolution. After days of deliberations, a tentative peace agreement was reached. The Crone agreed to withdraw from key territories and to cease their aggressive expansion. In return, the coalition offered aid and support to help rebuild the war-torn regions. As the summit concluded, Bruce stood alongside Captain Elleris and Admiral Zheng, looking out at the vast expanse of space. "We've come a long way," he said, "but there's still much to do." "Indeed," Elleris said, "the rebuilding will be as challenging as the war itself. But with unity, we can achieve it." Zheng nodded. "We've proven that when we stand together, we can overcome any obstacle. Let's ensure that this peace lasts." Bruce felt a renewed sense of purpose. The war had forged unbreakable bonds between disparate races, and now they had the chance to build a future together. As the Resolute set course for its next mission, Bruce knew that the fight for peace and prosperity had only just begun. With the Crone threat diminished and new alliances forged, humanity and its allies stood at the dawn of a new era. The stars, once a battleground, now held the promise of exploration, cooperation, and a brighter future for all.